meal or something.
It looks good on both of you.
Looks like I should be
into it. 1, 2, 3. Just give me some more. Have it in. Give me some more. Just give me some more.
Why, hello, everyone out there in cocktail land. Welcome to My Whiskey Den, your favorite public access whiskey review show where craft whiskey is king. This evening, we have the triumphant return of Adina Ewaldz to the show. She went to the Bourbon Woman's Not Your Pink Drink Cocktail Contest in Louisville, Kentucky. And not only did she win the amateur, she won. I'm going to call it Best in Show. I don't know how they worded it, but I think I like that better. It was Best in Show.
People's choice.
People's choice, I guess. I
like
so,
Best in Show, but
maybe that'll be our award for things is Best in Show. So we have you here tonight to talk about the cocktail you made and kind of little bit of the process of going into it, because it was a little lengthy, but if you followed the post or haven't yet, we'll make another one, and you should take the time it takes to do this because it's really not a lot, but it is an amazing cocktail, especially if you're into a little bit of Asian Thai food. This really hits down the pipes on that more than you would think. So thank you both for being with us this evening.
Well,
thanks for having us. Always a pleasure.
And everyone in the chat, thank you as well too. And yes, Emily, I am unsupervised. Everyone else is out doing important things, so they're not with us this evening. But we're talking cocktails and drinking them. I think I can handle that.
We're absolutely the wrong people to supervise you.
Right.
I should add.
I actually like that, and that's why you're on the show. So, but before I go any further, I want to tell everyone about the Bar Cart Co-op, but is a collection of like-minded people who produce whiskey content for the whiskey enthusiast. We're going to run through this a little bit quick. We have the first of Alan Bishop's shows with Christy Atkins, Distillers Talk, where they get really in-depth about spirits and the production of spirits. Little all over the place with it. If you think it's just here, it's a little bit all over the world, and they cover a lot of topics. So a little more in-depth than our show. Okay, now Alan's got another one. He's got a whole bunch. One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute. This one is where he answers questions. If you ask him, he will give you his honest answer of what he thinks and how to do something. So if you're looking for information to maybe further your knowledge or get you to the next level, good way to bounce ideas off someone who's going to give you their honest idea back. He has his last one. If you have ghosts, you have everything. This one is more spirit-centric, if you would, in both senses of the word. It's a little bit more of a podcast. Especially this time of year, they're branching out more into the Halloween section and stuff with it. So they have some really good interviews that follow along line with what's going on in the tail end of this month. Then we have Bourbon Turntable with Kevin Rose and Drew Crowley, where they blend the love of music with the love of whiskey. They typically have on guests who aren't just in the whiskey industry, but also in the music industry. And they have some wonderful two-part episodes as well with Steve Gorman, Nancy Fraley, Todd Leopold, several other people. So make sure you check them out. And our newest addition to Bar Cart Co-op is the Whiskey Ring podcast with David Levine. And he does a lot more reviews and is a little more expansive in the subject matter of whiskey than we are, where we're a little bit more craft focused. If you saw his whiskey awards, it's much more open. So we love having him here because he does a great job at reviews and he covers some stuff that we don't touch on. So, or we just don't get into enough because we don't have time. So, boom, done with that. All hail the king and queen of the cocktail. How are you guys doing?
Oh, no.
Oh.
Oh, this one was a struggle, I must say. Um, for one thing, we got the invitation out or received it about 4 weeks before the due date for the submissions. And usually it takes me longer than that to come up with an original cocktail. So,
It was a little bit of stressfulness in the kitchen for a while.
yes. And it went through, I don't know, probably 30 variations before I.
Was of just this idea, the tie one on was kind of 30 variations of just this? Because
Yes.
I can see that with what you all did to it.
Definitely
Because it
evolved,
started out
yeah.
as something different.
Yeah.
Totally. So, yeah, I mean, we were sent the parameters that it has to be. It was sponsored by Beam Suntory, so we had a list of their products that we could use. And I started out saying, "Oh, I'm going to pick my favorite one." Well, the favorite one didn't work quite well in this. So, I mean, it was an excellent product, but it just didn't work with this cocktail.
I can see that because it's kind of the flavors you're hitting in this are kind of unique. So I can see how one or two might, I don't want to call them be divisive, but might not
Just
pair
didn't
as well.
work. Just
It was good, but you took it to a bartender friend of ours who's one of the top 100 in the country, I guess.
Yeah.
He's received an award, and he said, "This is good, but your bourbon needs to be sweeter." And we were like,
Sure.
"Ooh, okay."
I mean,
All
that
right.
was the tip I got. So,
Yeah, it was the huge tip that
so I switched it to Maker's 46,
Mhm.
the off the shelf stuff, and started working away. When I started on this whole idea and thinking about the Beam, I'm like, oh, I always get like peanut notes off of Beam products. So
Mhm.
I'm going to do some peanut butter fat washed whiskey. And I had something totally different in mind that I was going to do. And I'm like, no, it's not going there.
if you think
So-
Elvis, you might know what she was thinking about.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. That would be kind of
Peanut butter banana, something or other. But we started
almost like a
Googling
creme
it, and
brulee kind of
like,
heavy
oh,
stuff,
man.
probably.
This one's been done too much. A lot of people have done that one in cocktails.
So I'm sitting there with already a half a bottle of peanut butter washed bourbon. And I'm thinking, oh, I like peanuts in my Thai food. So it kind of sprung from that. It was a lucky mishap.
Well, it's a neat play and kind of overlap. Most people, I probably would have leaned more towards using it traditionally, some form,
Yeah.
like you said, kind of the Elvis style or something, banana, some peanut butter. A really neat way of doing it. And I was gonna say, as far as the peanut butter fat wash, I just kind of want to get into a little bit of that because some people might not know what that is.
Right.
I was going to say, basically, you were putting a fourth cup of 100% non-salted peanut butter into a jar and then adding a cup of bourbon, kind of mixing it up, kind of letting it sit, and then straining it out the next day. You get rid of some of the fat and stuff out of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unsweetened, no salt peanut butter.
Yeah.
No
Just
sweetener.
peanuts, 100% peanuts.
100% peanuts.
Okay, and that's what I was going to get because didn't know what brand did you guys end up picking, and do you think it matters?
Some generic
It's-
organic brand.
Yeah,
I think
it was an
just,
organic.
yeah, it was
yeah.
just.
Well, that would make sense for what you're doing, you
Right.
know, for trying to pull that out in that time frame.
Mhm.
Right.
So I don't know if you've ever done that with anything else, but this is a very neat way to alter structure for a drink.
It
Just
gets,
not just with yours, but this is a very neat way to do it. Not difficult, not really time consuming compared to other things in preparation. It's just something you have to do. Which, how many cocktails did you have to make when you were at the contest?
it turned out to be, they said be prepared for up to 100 samples.
Okay,
So I spreadsheeted it, being the good engineer that I am. I started doing the math. I'm
I
like,
love it.
holy crap, this is liters and liters we have to make. It's like, well, wait a minute, there's going to be like an onslaught of people coming over to taste this, and we can't be stirring up
we've
over
got to have it
ice.
batched ahead of time.
Yeah, so we started figuring out how we were going to batch it for the whole thing, and that was
and
the
it
whole
worked
thing.
great.
Yeah, that worked out. Yeah.
Oh,
And that-
getting back to the fat washing.
Right,
though.
right.
Yep,
Let's get
sorry.
back to the fat washing, because we've done brown butter,
Brown butter, fat
we've
wash,
done
bourbon,
bacon fat,
and bourbon. Yep.
and then I did a coconut oil wash gin this summer that was really good.
The fat washing is cool because, okay, you get a little essence of whatever you washed with. Most importantly, though, it gives you like a mouthfeel. You get a little bit of a changed mouthfeel in the
Yep.
in the whiskey.
It pulls a little bit of that creaminess
Yeah.
into it. Or in this instance, it does. I would think with the bacon as well, too, you'd get a little, I don't want to call it the grease, but you would get a little bit more of that,
It's a
like you said, altered mouthfeel where it's thicker
Yeah,
or a little.
right.
A little body to the.
Yeah, some body. Right.
Oh, God. Okay, sorry.
So, anyway, that's where we started with this, and
Then you start playing with Thai syrup.
oh yeah, I said, okay, well, one of the parameters is you can only use the bourbon and 4 other ingredients, but that doesn't mean that your syrup can't have
16
flavor.
ingredients.
Well, at first when I started out, I'm
Yeah.
like throwing all the Thai flavors in there, the coconut, the lime, the
Lemongrass,
it still has the lemongrass
Right.
in it, but
Yeah, but
everything.
start throwing everything in there.
Ginger.
Yeah,
Ginger. Soy, ginger.
I'm like, no. So start editing it down to what my favorite flavors were with it.
Mhm.
And so the syrup has, so much of the flavor in there. And then I just wanted to give it a little bit of more the fruitiness. So the apricot liqueur kind of gave it a nice little.
I wouldn't have expected that in the cocktail. Not saying that it doesn't sound right afterwards, but in my working backwards, I don't know if I would have connected that one right away to it to put in
Right.
here, but it works perfect with it.
Well-
That was another thing that was a catastrophe. So she made her own apricot liqueur, as she does.
As one does.
She got a lot of mason jars in the fridge. Let's just say that. So yeah, she made a banging apricot liqueur. It was nice and tart, and it was wonderfully fresh, and it was sweet, and it was good, and it worked great in the cocktail. But then she kind of found out after she submitted it, it had to be kind of commercially available.
Right. Or I'd have to make a couple gallons of it. And
It's
I
like,
really
oh.
didn't have the time or.
Right. So we had to find a commercially available apricot liqueur, and I think we tried like 4 of them.
Yeah.
We eau de vie, and we settled on one that was close to yours.
Yeah.
That was pretty good, and then we went with that.
Yep.
That was just a bit of a oh crap. What
Yeah.
are we going to do now with this?
Another one of those things on the spreadsheet. We have a problem.
Yeah.
We have a problem.
No, but like that, adding the apricots in, like I said, it's not my standard profile for building in my brain.
Mhm.
So that would have been something that I would have missed. Like we were saying, we were putting, not to put in. I'm glad you didn't put the coconut in. I'm not as big a fan of coconut, so a little is fine. Sometimes a lot can be a bit much. And I to be honest, I probably would have thrown the soy in. So it's neat to see you have taken that out in the cocktail, because I know when I would have been making that would have been one of the things I would have thrown in right away, just because I like salt.
It was tried. It was tasted, and Dave said, "Move on."
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Yep.
All right, so then you guys I was gonna say, you're talking about the syrup, but you also the infused oil that you guys used on
Oh,
this at the end.
That's an aromatic component. So she was trying to go for something like when you go into the glass, bring it up, and you're gonna first, you taste with your nose also. So you start, bring the glass up, and you're smelling these wonderful aromatics coming off.
It is. And in that one, hold on here. It was, you had avocado oil, lemongrass, and Thai basil in that.
Yes.
The avocado, and that's like, just like you were mentioning, is kind of that first punch. The lemongrass, I kind of expected, that has a neat creaminess on the nose that I wasn't, once again, I think really torques it and puts it over the top. Those couple of drops open up the experience before you get into the flavor tremendously. I don't use tiny, little droplets of stuff in the cocktails very often. I take that back. I use bitters. That's not fair. Yeah. But I mean, the way that the aromatics on that, I think, were so much more powerful and blended well with what you were doing.
Yeah, I was just happy the way that, and it was just kind of one of those little extras that when they came to pick up their glass, I'd put a drop of oil on it and they're like, oh, what is this?
That's another reason to talk to you about everything.
Exactly.
Right. When we were serving people, there was some distillers in the crowd that owned some big distilleries, a couple of them, and they came up and, what are you doing with the eyedropper? What are you putting into this cocktail? And well, it's an aromatic compound. It's, and she told them what it was, and it just
Well, it's one of those things where if you're one of those big places, everyone makes cocktails, and a small way to elevate someone's cocktail game like that is pretty on point.
Mm-hmm.
Then she started looking at the garnish, and another aromatic is, I said, hey, what about, Thai food? You need a little bit of kaffir lime. So she threw on the garnish a little kaffir lime leaf as well, to give you a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And then the ginger.
Yep. And the candied ginger, which I think is just and I said, I don't have as much now in tonight's drinks because I didn't know my son would actually like that. Hold on here. So that is a beautiful, beautiful cocktail. Not looking like your standard, but with what you're getting out of it and the amount of aroma coming out of the glass, it really creates for me, like a pad thai smell, where it's just like right into like peanuts and everything else. It blended so well. And the thing I loved about it is the chili paste in the syrup.
Yeah.
Leaves a nice bit of heat throughout the drink that matches the style of what you're doing. But I was saying afterwards, that kind of opens up the backside of my nostrils and my oral cavity because of that. And it pulls more, allows me to taste more, or opens up more of the experience, because usually that kind of shuts off after a certain point. But that kind of opens that up the whole time that it's going on. And I like the heat. I always do. It's not the best for my stomach, but I'll go as hot as I want every time.
Oh, I love spicy.
It's great.
Spicy. I mean, this thing has a little bit of the spice, but it's got the sweet to it, and it balances the spice. They play together.
Dave likes the spice so much that when I made the syrup, he says, "Oh, this is really good." And I was like, "I got to cut the spice down a little bit."
Nope, he likes it. Got to dial it back.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, probably, I guess. But I mean, like, I don't know. I didn't know that about Dave. We may have to.
There was one batch that was great. It would have been only great to a few select part of the demographic.
Yeah, probably not all the judges would have agreed.
Yeah, and that was one of the things too. Walking into the room and looking at the rest of the cocktails and looking at the judges, and I'm like, we're freaking doomed.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, this is unconventional. I mean, there was a gal with a julep, and it's like, oh man, how's this going to play in Louisville? This is pretty unconventional for a cocktail.
Well, that's what I loved about it. It was truly outside the box when everyone, I don't want to say outside the box, but really more on the edge of things and taking a new look at it rather than a redo or a riff or a slight change or alteration. Not that change might not be
right
significantly impactful, but ultimately creating a cocktail rather than just riffing it is cool. Now I have a couple pictures of some of the other ones that were there just so people could see them.
And there were some good cocktails there. You know, we tasted the room too, and
Yeah.
there were some really good ones.
Was this the one that you were talking about that had like pine or something in it? I don't know. I was just asking because it seemed like there was.
That was, I know it was a blackberry.
I was mistaking this.
Was.
Yeah, I can't.
I was mistaking the end of the stick of the garnish. Then that's my bad.
That was the royal julep, I believe.
That was delicious.
Yeah, that was really good.
And then there's a
Those
little
special
table.
ones.
Yeah, those were the pro cocktails, right? Those are the 5 pros.
The one that looks a little more ice creamy or frothy. Once again, a little more. I don't know what it actually was meant to taste like or anything, but looks wise a step outside the box from the average cocktail.
It was. It was really good.
Ooh,
It was a take on Harry Potter's butterbeer.
Right.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Kinda cool.
Yeah, it was really neat.
All right.
No, those were all fabulous.
If this was yours, you had a nice,
Yeah.
beautiful apron for it.
You know, and that one, you know, comes back to bourbon people are the best people. And we were on an outing at a distillery, and we met a new friend, and we're chatting with him that she had the contest coming up, and he says, "Well, tell me about your cocktail." He gets on the phone with his graphic designer and says, "I'm going to design you a tablecloth for your cocktail," and starts describing it to his designer. "I'll have it in the mail to you next week."
Hey, that's beautiful.
And he's like, no. Wow. And so this tablecloth shows up with this terrific graphic. And, you know, again, bourbon people are the best people.
And I also have to give big credit to Melanie Robinson because she helped me come up with the name.
Right.
Ooh. And it is catchy and fits it quite well.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But this was a layout of the table and you. Now, how busy, when you said it was like this, because I know you did have quite a few people, and obviously you work well together, but how busy were the both of you in that booth in that time frame? Because make it not just making pours, but actually drinks, even if you have them pre-mixed, and getting them set right is a little bit more time consuming. So it sounded like you worked well together from all reports from the people who aren't here tonight.
Mitch?
Yeah, Mitch could report, but
Yeah.
So you had to start prepping for your cocktails, and the judging was early on before they opened the doors to the public. And so we had a couple hours to start batching, and my idea was, let's engineer this.
Of course.
Yeah, well, what I do. It's like, okay, well, I figured out spreadsheet. We had 1 liter bottles, the flip top bottles, and okay, let's do 1 liter batches and figure out everything. And we started mixing. And I think I have a slide of mixing, but
I'm gonna switch you over then.
Yeah, we're starting here. She's starting the prep for the judges there, and just getting the individual judging cocktails ready.
And the choice of glassware was pretty deliberate too. Those are
I would say so.
It's a Glencairn glass.
It's a big
Glencairn rocks glass,
right?
And it's made to concentrate the aromas too.
Yep. But so yeah, we started mixing and got all the liter bottles filled. Stuck them in a cooler. We brought a gigantic cooler and filled with a bunch of ice, and just stuck them on ice to get them just absolutely frosty cold. And figuring, okay, well, we're gonna have time to stir over ice when people start rolling in. We'll just pour it up and garnish. And
we had all the garnishes made ahead of time, so it was just,
nice. You're more efficient than bars in my city. It's terrible. I mean, it's great for you guys, but sometimes, and it's even sometimes an event like that, it is a little embarrassing when you see the 2 people running a thing and serving and going fast as heck, and you'll go to some bars and it is a problem for them to pour a draft. Just,
Yeah. No, it went well. I mean, with them pre-batched, and
Yeah.
we even pre-diluted them a little bit, like with a little bit of water, like you were stirring over rice to get the right dilution even. So we had that all ready to go, and it worked. We made it.
Well, it's tremendous. Now, you were originally introduced into the amateur division, correct? And were there 4 or 5 other people in that?
Yeah, there were
Or I should say finalists. I should take that back.
there were 4 of us. There was one person that couldn't make it.
Right.
Okay. But so between and the profession, I think it was professional bartenders, I think is the correct way to say that.
Our managers,
Another like 4 or 5 as well too.
5 of them.
Mhm.
So let's be honest. That as far as tasting goes, that's not a bad tasting to go to where you're getting 10 cocktails.
Right. And you could go back for seconds or thirds too.
Oh, I didn't know that was allowed. Well, see, now that's a whole good afternoon when you're getting into something like that.
Yeah,
But could be a problem.
it could be.
We may have seen Weddle a couple times. Allegedly. I think we tried to Weddle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He got weddled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He got Weddle.
He got.
Gave it our best shot anyway.
But I got to say, the cocktails that were there were all fabulous. And
Well, that's why I wanted a couple pictures of the other ones because they did look very sharp. You know, there were a couple there that I'm like, okay, I'm intrigued. What happened here? What's in this? How is it going to go? And I just thought it played even more attention to how well you did with this one, just because seriously, this is something that I won't be surprised if one of those whiskey owners happens to steal this and put it into their cocktail menu or something. Or if I was a Thai restaurant, you would maybe see me be an asshole thief. Maybe give credit where credit is due.
nice.
Yeah.
Ask for a little credit.
That'd be
on it.
awesome.
You know, it could be Adina's Thai one on is what it should be. But if I had a Thai restaurant, you can guarantee this would be on the menu.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, it like you were saying, didn't you say you guys tried this with something with like a peanut sauce?
Yeah. Like spring rolls.
Spring rolls with peanut sauce, and it was just fabulous.
Well with food.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, are you planning on doing any more contests? Are you already involved in more contests? Is a better question.
Well, I do a couple online ones that I kind of enter anonymously, just to get feedback and see what everybody else is coming up with. And I've done okay on those. Of course, those are just you submit a recipe and a picture and talk about it, and so.
Great. Well, you did so well on this one. Obviously, they wanted you to come show up and do this because it is well worth it. Sorry, there's some other something outside. I don't know what it is. That's fine. That's what happens when you're on the porch.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the amount of flavors. And what made you go with the Maker's? Oh, I'll bring this back up here. Go with the Maker's Mark, because I know typically it has a little bit of those cherry notes in Maker's Mark, and I think I'm gonna wait till why you used it. Sorry, as opposed to why I think I like it in here.
I liked the oak notes in it. I think that played really well with softening some of the other flavors, and just some of the like the dried fruits worked well with the apricot. And
that's what I was going to say. That little bit of cherry I thought works well with the titcha apricot, like and a little bit of tartness from it, but it's more hidden. Like you said, you get a little more of the barrel notes and stuff, but it's neatly hidden in there.
Yeah.
And maybe that's because I I know what's in there and it's easier for me to find. But if you were using it in the fat wash for something else, it's a neat kind of cherry, kind of peanut buttery little edge to it that I wasn't expecting.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, now you got that whole fat wash thing has got my brain all shattered in a mess.
It happens.
Try brown.
Believe me.
Yeah, try brown butter. Brown butter fat washing is pretty easy. And
Then
it goes
when you do that, then just stick it in the freezer. That one's real easy to.
Yeah, then that one solidifies and you can skim it off easily. And yeah, that's an easy one to do.
Those are cool.
And it goes in a lot of drinks, like put it in old fashioned.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Well, that's just it. I mean, it's just when I hadn't pondered doing something like that with this. And I don't know. You know, sometimes you learn something when you're younger and you kind of don't use it, and then it kind of you vaguely floats away until it gets brought up again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
When you guys said that, I was like, oh my God. Yeah. How come I haven't thought about that in like 15 years? What in the hell is wrong with me? But I'm like, just the neat layering of flavors in the peanut butter that it pulls out of that is really cool. And because I did make one just to try the difference between a fat washed one and a screwball shitty version. And no offense to screwball, but it's a whole different texturing to the peanut butter flavoring that you're getting out. Not just like the peanut butter, but you are pulling like Dave. That's what happens when I'm here all alone. But the fatty notes and the texturing that comes out of it is what gives it a lot more character than the screwball. I would try to avoid that if you could, because it is very easy to make this, not very difficult to make that fat washed whiskey. But if you have to, yeah, go ahead, make your sweetened version of the drink, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Overly sweet version, where this I think plays much better with it, and the heat's fucking awesome. I'm sorry. There's one where I want to try a Dave version of this, where I have a feeling where you had that one where it was like, oh, it's good, but then like at the same time, like right back here, you can feel like little beads of sweat just starting to form, like right here as like the heat builds. I kind of feel like that might have been what your version was.
Almost, yeah.
How many Scoville units is this cocktail? Or ramp it up.
Oh, and then the other big thing on this was I made this and doing the peanut butter, and then I'm reading the thing about, if you have allergens in it, please make sure it's clearly labeled. And I'm, oh crap, I'm going to kill a judge.
or no, we'll get a judge that doesn't like heat, A, and B is allergic to peanuts. It's like, watch, this is going to happen. Luckily not.
Or you'll just get that person that like doesn't pay attention, is poof, and it's like, oh, I need my pen. Someone find my pen.
Now,
as Emily said in the chat, rule number 1, don't kill the judges.
That's very true.
Thank you.
Ooh. So, I was going to say, Shannon looks like she's going to Whiskey Fest, or the Whiskey Festival in Milwaukee this Friday coming up.
we'll see you there.
We'll
Shannon.
see you there, Shannon.
Oh, very nice.
We'll bring some of this cocktail. Shannon can try this cocktail.
She'll love that. I'm not going to make it down to that one. I have to work. And then you're going to Dancing Goat. Yeah, you should do something there. You'll find something you like. They have all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, I've got quite a collection of Dancing Goat products right now. Yeah. They had a rye that was finished in orange bitters barrels.
Mm-hmm.
It was absolutely killer.
Mm-hmm.
It was
I looked at it as an old fashioned where you didn't need to do anything to it.
exactly
Because there was a lot. If you go like back to the original, it's mostly booze anyways,
right.
and not everything else. And I was like, this is what I think very similarly what they may have been going for, or at least I hope they were going for. Yeah, it was just great off the bat. So.
What was cool about it is you can just do a pour of it and then throw some soda water in with it, and boom, instant cocktail. Brilliant.
Or just put some ice or stir it over ice, and it's a Manhattan.
Yeah, or just ice. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, and you, I don't mean to spill the beans, but what did you guys do this weekend? You guys are busy. You're like the whiskey travelers. You're all over the damn Midwest every weekend.
We may have been judging whiskey for about 6 hours yesterday.
Yeah.
You're doing really good after that. You showed me, showed me all the possible categories. I was like, oh, I know you're not supposed to drink it all, but damn.
A few of them were really hard to dump, but for the
that's
great.
better than where I thought it was going to go with that statement. So that's awesome.
It's a lot of fun. When you have a chance to do that, it's just it's a blast. See how long your palate hangs in there before it dies.
Well, that's anything. Dude, I was almost thinking that was someone else, but I was like, well, I'd love to go as a judge, but if you're gonna slam this much in here, that even if I'm spitting, there's a point where I feel like I should tag out. Be like, at one point I'm like, Team Whiskey Den is gonna go, and like at some point we're gonna tag out, and someone else will get in with another fresh palate, and then we'll come back when someone else has another one. Like you can rotate us as a team, not as a singular judge, because I've done a few things like that where you go going into the 20s or above in pours of tastings and things, and it's in my honest opinion with where it is, for me, there's a point where it gets real foggy.
Oh yeah.
And then I only remember once I'm like, that was awesome. And then I've also gone back afterwards and been like, it wasn't as awesome as I thought, son of a bitch,
Well, kind of the same thing when she's iterating versions of cocktails. It's kind of hard to, we'll try this. Okay, well, I'm going to alter it. We'll try this one. I'm going to add a little bit of this. It's like at some point, it's like you got to step away, come back.
Like trying your own whiskey like that, where you're in it so much and you're not getting anything else that
you got to let your palate just kind of chill out. Go to something different and come back to it, and
have some cantaloupe liqueur.
Reset.
All right, I have some here, but it will take away the palate of what's there. But no, but Adina, this cocktail was fantastic, and Shannon, if you're gonna see her and get a chance to try this, you are lucky, because I think you'll agree that there's some restaurants that this should be in to match with food. Then we're gonna have the hot one someday. I want to try one of those someday. I know it's not for everybody.
We can make that happen.
She can batch up a hot one to send to Green Bay there, Pat.
Yeah, one of the next cocktail shows, you see me, all of a sudden my face is like the same color as the pig behind me.
Yeah.
That's
well, no, we hit the right spot.
There's the Thai chili version, then there's the Carolina Reaper version for Pat.
Well, if we're gonna do that, we should just go down the hot ones episode someday, where the question is that if you do that with a group of people, I don't know if you guys have ever done that, or obviously I'd assume seen the show.
Yeah.
Okay. I've done it a few times where you do the row of 10 and stuff, or you do the game where it's truth or dab, where you're asking people questions if they want to or not, and if they don't, then they have to eat. The problem is when you do truth or dab, it's usually just ridiculously hot stuff off the bat, where you don't get to kind of build your palate to the destruction, where it's not so, it sounds dumb, but it's not so bad. But if you just like jump off the cliff right away, that it can hurt.
You don't run into too many, spicy cocktails if you think about it.
No, there's a lot of
every once in a while.
A Bloody Mary made with Blom Brothers Hellcat vodka, it's got some heat.
Yeah.
Because they use a habanero in that when they're just
some,
spicy mezcal cocktails. Yeah. I love those. Yeah.
But I guess you're right. I don't want to go too far, but I just, sometimes I like pushing the edge with things. And this,
you don't see a lot of times the heat with the whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, heat and whiskey, not as often, right?
Mhm.
Heat and tequila or mezcal for sure.
Well, you don't get as much as I think the tequila and mezcal. You get more of a creaminess, where you might get more of just like the alcohol heat sometimes from some lesser bourbons or whiskeys.
Mhm.
And you don't. I want to say you don't get that as much, but I think you get a little more of that agave mouthfeel off of that. That might cover or alter that. I don't know. This was fantastic.
Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I am. I'm down with almost 2 drinks because it is a wonderful little cocktail here. And that, like I said, we will post this again this week about how to make it. Yep, that had that one as well too, because that is fantastic.
That was the win.
I love your face.
That was the People's Choice Award.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that everyone, you got the recognition that the people here know you deserve, because we have had some of the other cocktails you've had, and they are outstanding quality. So,
Well, thank you.
so
It's really a fun little hobby. Back before COVID, I mean, we would make, oh, let's make an old fashioned, but let's make it with rye. Really go off the rail. And stuff like that. And then during COVID, I'm like, oh geez, I got to find something to keep my mind occupied. So,
AKA, I'm going to murder my husband if I don't start making cocktails or find something to do.
there was a lot of that.
And it gave the day drinking purpose.
Right.
Well, I mean, that sounds dumb, but that there is like some legitimacy to that, because then when I don't want to make fun of it, but like South Park's like it's a tasting, it's classy. Well, I mean, there is a little bit to that when you're not just downing it to get hammered, where you're actually trying to taste it, trying to create something, focusing on, creating an experience rather than just, getting wasted. There is a difference. That's all I'm saying.
Watching all those YouTube videos and saying, oh, I can do that. Yeah, no, I can't. Couldn't at the time, but I'd try it again.
Well, it's something that with everyone making cocktails in that time frame and kind of switching. Well, I'm gonna go back further. Did you guys start off mostly with spirits when you guys started going tasting stuff and doing whiskey and stuff? Because for a lot of people, you delve into, you get excited about bourbon and whiskey, and you delve into that hole really deep for a couple of years, and then you start fringing out other spirits, and then it's almost like it turns cocktail land, because you're going back to a little different flavor profile that you didn't get from this whole section because you were excited about it. And I just didn't know if that followed your plan or if that seemed similar or not.
I think what we started doing is Mr. Potato Heading cocktails. Like, you take a Manhattan and swap out the whiskey for mezcal or something like that, or just swap out one ingredient for another ingredient. Start with the base spirit, take the base spirit out, swap it with some other base spirit, throw cognac in there, or whatever, and that changes the cocktail. That's a simple one to do with any cocktail. Swap out the base spirit, see what happens.
We'll look at a Bloody Mary for people.
Yeah,
that used to just be one. Now you can get it how many other every way, with it being on the inside for the spirit base.
Try a Bloody Mary with mezcal sometime.
Wow. The white mezcal with that is fantastic.
That Bloody Mary, yep.
I like it with aquavit.
Aquavit. There you go.
You can kind of see that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but the mezcal one for me, I'm getting that like smoky, extra little like hint to it, and I went like bacon fat mezcal wash somehow, just all of a sudden in my head.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, I'll be right back.
No, she doesn't have one of those, but like swapping out the base spirit in cocktails, and then and then the fringe. Okay, the Amaros in the booth. So let's try this Amaro, and it's like that's a rabbit hole.
Well, and it's something it's one of those things that you don't. For me, I don't think I would get into, but all of a sudden you find like a little niche. You're like, holy cow! like it sounds dumb, like with cordials, because a lot of times for me, cordials are too sweet, or I forget what that one TV show was. They had it like years ago. It was like Little House on the Prairie, and the one chick had like way too much cordial and was just hammered. Just hammered. Like she was like 14. You just offer. What'd you have? She had the whole jar. Oh my God. A lot of the times that's almost too sweet, too sugary. If I find one that is more fruit forward, and it sounds dumb because it all is, but it's, like I said, not as sugar forward.
Right.
I absolutely love those.
Yeah.
And it's like a hidden gem where I'm like, oh, this, you could even, for me, you could pour that on pancakes and I would be happy. You know, like it has such
Oh, you'd be really happy then.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's the fat kid in me.
Yeah, so we started dabbling in Amaros and some of the other ingredients, and there's cool stuff out there.
And then I got to the point where it's like, oh, this one calls for a white chocolate liqueur. I don't want to buy a whole bottle of white chocolate liqueur. How do I make my own?
Well, that's where I think you step
like
out.
Small amounts. So I do that with so many things now because I don't want a big bottle of it in case I don't like it.
Well, that's where I think you guys go a step that most people are afraid to go, that once you find out about that step, you're like, that's really not that bad.
Yeah, a lot of those are easy. Like people are actually buying simple syrup. Come on,
Well,
it's sugar and water, and you heat it up on the stove, you boil it. I know there's well, not boil it, you heat it up. I mean, there's a convenience factor. I get that, but I mean, a lot of the stuff that you pay big bucks for, you can easily make.
Well, all your flavored simple syrups that someone uses or that you do, and you're like, I think you guys mentioned like a pine needle one time. I'm like, well, I guess if all you have to do is drop some pine needles in, what's going on?
Yeah.
Forgot, what would he do?
And if it doesn't work, if you don't like it, so what?
So what? Yeah, it's that much that you're tossing out. But like the fat wash and some other things, it's stuff. I think some other people that are watching the show that might think it's a step that's like, oh, I probably wouldn't do that when it's like, this is like a 5-minute step. Throw the peanut butter or bake it wherever, wash it, leave it overnight, strain it the next morning.
Mm-hmm.
You're on your way. So really not that difficult. And as you can tell, it has, I don't want to say short circuited my brain, but it's kind of cuffed my head in a side direction. So good for it. I like when that happens. It's been a while since I had something where I was like, good, I'm focused, Other times I'll just have something and that's great. But I'm like, the way you can use this is neat. I'm pondering that.
Another thing I like to do is like, if I'll go to Costco and buy a big package of berries thinking, I'm going to eat healthy and eat all these berries. And it gets to be a few days later and it's like, oh man, I got to do something with these. Let's make a liqueur.
Here, Dave, eat 2 pounds of these berries. No,
let's make a liqueur.
Yeah.
And that's easy to do. You just put the berries or something in some
vodka,
high proof vodka.
Yeah.
Let them sit for a few days and strain them and add some simple.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, and that's what I think is like, I'm hoping this connects people's like bartending, real bartending to home bartending, because that's what your $15 cocktail has. Is $1.50 simple syrup at home that you can have for how many ever cocktails. Sounds dumb, but I'm just trying to put this in perspective. When you're worried about something, it's like really not that bad. And what you could use for quite a long time. Or if you're having a party, or if you ask Dave for a spreadsheet, he might give you how the dynamics break down for batching the thing, which would be outstanding.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he would, because I
figured out. Tell you how to do it. Yep. And then also when you make your own ingredients, they're fresh.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing like fresh. Obviously, you squeeze a lemon, a lime, grapefruit, or whatever. Fresh juice is always better in cocktails. Always.
Far.
But also some of the syrups, if it's made relatively fresh and you use that, there is a difference.
Well, just the aroma, like you said, just the oil that you made. I'm sure if you would have let that sit for a couple weeks to a month, it might not have been as fresh. But like right away, those couple drops, wow.
Oh yeah, that was like that was the one that kind of blew everybody's mind.
Yeah,
So,
well, you got to
I-
break the camel's back somehow. That was a great way to do it.
To do something, if I do this next year, which I probably will.
Hey, we all taste whiskeys, and you're nosing your whiskey, and you're checking out the aromatics in your whiskey and everything. And how often do you do that with your cocktail? You just kind of drink your cocktail. But if you have a cocktail where it's aromatic and you can nose it, and just kind of cool.
Oh, but it, and like you said, but that was a neat pre-thought tactic, because adding that, it adds the visual back into the whole effect of the experience.
Right.
Mhm.
They might just grab it and go. That adds the visual, the what happened, I call it the mysticism.
And it's
The
the immediate part. I mean, you have the little sample size pour. It'd pour like maybe 5 at a time. But when somebody would come up, I'd say, "Oh, here, let me put this in it." And it was just like there's that extra personal touch. It got the conversation going.
What are you doing there?
Yeah.
What is that?
It got
Yeah.
the little bit of the, and obviously the aroma part was what was going for, but I mean, it was more than that.
Yep. Now Spencer asked, I saw in the comments, have we experimented with super juice?
That just came up.
No, not really. We go through a lot of limes and lemons and haven't really played with that. But we did do one thing with her cocktail, and so her Thai, or actually the apricot liqueur, the commercially available one, wasn't quite on par with her homemade one. So I said, okay, what's in fresh apricots? And it's malic acid, right?
Mhm.
So, okay, well, malic acid, that's what's in apricots, not, the citric like it's in lime or whatever. So I ordered from the big store, the rainforest store, some malic acid, and we made up a little eyedropper of the malic acid. And so she eyedroppered the malic acid into the apricot liqueur a little bit to kick it up, to bring the acidity up a little bit.
Neat.
To the level of her homemade apricot liqueur.
Yeah.
So,
well, and that would make a huge difference with how sweet some liqueurs are in general. Just that acidity. Okay.
So you can do that. So I mean, a lot of bartenders, orange juice. Orange juice is flabby. It doesn't have a whole much, that much acid and everything. So they'll take orange juice and add citric acid to it to bring it up to like the acidity of limes, and then they use that. And there's some mind tricks with acid you can do, and we haven't played with that a whole lot, Spencer. But that's another rabbit hole we're kind of playing with a little bit down the road here.
Yeah, I like all this outside the fringe stuff. This is the problem with cocktails, though.
Oh,
Is that there's the rabbit hole is big and wide, and to be honest with me, sometimes sugars when I'm drinking aren't always the greatest mixing over long term. Probably in the past I could do whatever. Now I'm at maybe 2 or 3 cocktail.
Oh,
person.
yeah.
If they're sugary and not more.
Two is it.
Yeah, if they're not more spirit based, which is the way you were with me. That's the way I pour them. Sorry about that.
I love that.
There's a hint of the cocktail in here.
Look for it.
Well, you live in the land of let's muddle some sugar cubes and put some brandy in it, and and some cherries. The pepper. I think the hot pepper got to Patrick.
I just hit the wrong dupe for a second.
Are you sure you want a spicier version?
Because I coughed that to happen. So, no, but this really proud of both of you for doing, because I know it was a lot of time, a lot of work, a lot of effort, a lot of research, but coming up with what I feel is a truly unique cocktail in today's cocktail world. I mean, kudos above and beyond, because
Really difficult.
extremely difficult. And today there is it's late in the show. Everything's a fucking riff on something.
Riff on a riff on
Everything's a riff on a riff on a riff, which is which is fine. Like I said, if your riff fucking kicks ass, outstanding.
Yeah.
But if it's just like a side playing, like, but I mean, coming up with something really unique and new and this good is absolutely impressive. So we all here want you to know that.
Thank you. Yeah, I've got like 4 in my head that I'm working on right now. And
She got up one morning this week. I got to write this down. It's like, what?
Hey, Bob, I'm just saying, I think people will notice, because I had an idea. We'll talk about an idea I had off camera at some point.
Okay.
There's 1 or 2 contacts I might reach out to and see, and I'm like, there's exciting. Anchors don't kill. Oh, sorry, trying to read Emily. I didn't know if I was in trouble or not already, which is okay. So.
oh, yeah, I see Tim brought up the edible glitter incident.
Oh, well, anise. I was staying away from that because of the anise, but yeah.
Yeah.
The edible glitter incident.
That was an edible glitter incident, and I was cleaning up glitter out of my kitchen thanks to my husband.
I don't know. I think I went wild and I was tossing edible glitter all over the kitchen for that one, I think.
Well, if it was okay, so what did you make? Because if egg whites and stuff was like
I don't remember what that one was. That was a Christmassy drink.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so not. I see that and I think like pisco sour when I think egg whites for me or something. Like, I'm intrigued by the glitter, but then when you said that, it reminds me of that weird wine or liqueur that like you shake and it looks like almost like crazy nail polish, or like a weird lava lamp that goes up and down through the bottle, and I'm like,
yeah.
All right. Well, hold on here. I gotta get back to this other screen, because next week, as long as I have my typical guests here, Mike and Mitch, we're going to be going to our part 4 of wood influences, odd flavors. We'll have a post about that upcoming one and what ones we're actually tasting. So you guys can follow along. If you have one, you can understand what we're delving into. And odd does not necessarily mean bad, as far as what Mitch made me preference. So we'll find out what we do with this. What the hell? Sorry. I don't know what's going on outside. Apparently something wants to get in. It's exciting here in the Great North Woods.
Yeah.
So next week, watch out for that. But thank you, Dave, and thank you, Adina, for coming on.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah,
I just wanted to talk about this because, like I said, just the type of cocktail around here isn't something I'm ever going to find. I'll be honest, you'd probably be in what I would think is a bigger city, and I still don't think they would have gone down this road that you guys went down, and chili paste, and then all the extra little touches found the right place when you did it. So it's a great drink.
Stumbled into something, right?
Right. Yeah. The heat's great. So thank you guys for being here. Thank everyone in the chat for being with us. Shannon, maybe we'll see you this weekend when you come to town. I know it's busy.
Shannon, we'll see you this weekend.
Yeah.
Cheers.
So remember, it's not the size of the den that matters. It's the love of whiskey. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers. Good night.
Thank you.